There was always a time, oh yes, out of the four, like always, there would come, of course, anarchy, which would come out. And when it did, the problem was always the same. There was always a sense that the mother, oh yes, Raft, would try to understand anarchy. Four ran like a clock. And the problem with the clock was always the same. The clock ran to perfection. One was running. Hope ran in the one as fast as she could. And the two was an hour hand, the mother, cast as a tree. You would put me like this, would you? Put me as a tree? Yes, as a tree. She could wish it and do like that. Three was called what? Balance? And balance was three. And yet the problem with three was always the same. Sometimes at the three, something came up from the tree. The four was always a clock that ran from perfection. Birth to death. But the problem was occasionally something would come out from the three, and the problem with three, something was called a city in a sense, a scale in a sense. A scale, and the scale always, sometimes something came out of three, it was called Delphi. Anarchy came from the three. And when the three came out, the problem was this. The entourage, oh yes, called the fates, called the magi, would come out with their holy princess. Oh yes, the oracle at Delphi would come out. And when she came out with the entourage, somehow the four would go to anarchy. Nothing worked the same, it never did. And then somehow, like always, to understand anarchy was always the same thing. Anarchy, when it came to play, it never followed the rules. The house, perfection of time, that went in reverse. And when it did go in reverse, the problem was always the same. Trying to understand reverse was just this. The logic made no sense. The mother at the two became hope. And always a problem with this. When she became hope, that thing called hope became, well, the mother in a sense. You cast me as a tree? Is that it? You want to take my place? Take my place. The thing that came out, oh yes, was called, well, JoJo in a sense. When she came to play, that was called, well, fantasy in a sense. The four was reality. And then when fantasy came to play, it followed a different set of rules. It didn't follow time the way time was. It followed time by, well, different rules. There was no present, there was no past, and there was no future. What there was something different. The word was called null. Null, when it came to play, it made no sense. The scientist was trying to understand from the past, there was Hubble. And Hubble saw all the things of order. And then came James Webb. And when James Webb came out, things were, hold it, redshift doesn't quite work with James Webb, does it? Those galaxies right there, they're not following what it is, but somehow, understanding it, there was always a puzzlement. At the chalkboard, oh yes, was a brilliant student. He sat down and then got up, went right to the question. His teacher asked a question, and then his brilliant student went to the chalkboard. Calculations and mathematics was there, and then his conclusion was something ugly. His teacher, like always, looked at his calculations. He's brilliant. But the answer he gave. You suppose that that is an answer acceptable for science? You want to say what exactly? Anarchy, when it came to the four, everything went in reverse. It did not play the same rules of time. It went in decimals. And sometimes it went to negative. Negative numbers. Everything in reversed. The mother, always trying to understand anarchy, it did not understand hope. It did not. And when it did try to understand hope, the problem was always the same. Hope did not understand no hope. The problem was reversed. When, of all the things, the entourage came in, they sent everything to the scale at the three called Delphi. Delphi was for the Greek, in a sense. And everything went to measurements. The mother itself tried to hide herself as hope. And always the same thing. Hope was just stupid, like always. She went to the scale. They put hope on one side, called no hope on the scale, and the mother now called hope was on the far left side. And then trying to understand the middle was just that. The fates, called the entourage, called the magi, came just that way with calculations with a far scale to look at hope that was now called no hope and take in all the things of calculations, the head measurements, the breast measurement, and the boob measurements. But the problem was the same. On the scale of hope was now called no hope, but looked the same thing like the thing at the far side, which was now called no hope and now called hope in a sense. They were twins. Calculations, mathematics, equations. Again, the professor looked at his student at the chalkboard. That is blasphemous. You are proposing what exactly? Huh? Stupid shit. But the problem was this. The mathematics was brilliant. The Magi went to their, well, JoJo in a sense. This version of JoJo was called null. Null had its own definition of time. Time was called what? Not past, not present, and not eternal in a sense. Null was something different. James Webb looked at a black hole and somehow it didn't quite make any sense. The black hole was there. It should be older, but it should be newer. How could something look so old and then the universe around it, the science didn't make sense? The scientists were screaming something was wrong. No understanding of what the concept of null was. That was where things did not make sense. On the scales, the small thing, a smidgen, went walking right to the left. Looked at a thing called hope, which was now called no hope. The mother, raft, on the scale, was just something there, and then understanding, touching her, understanding what she was. She tried to look and tried to, well, the word was called grog. Grog was just that, taking in everything all at one time, but the problem was the same. She tried to sense it, but she couldn't feel anything. She walked to the far scale of a thing called no hope, now called hope in a sense, playing the mother's part. When she went right there, she heard a giggle. She tried to grog that thing as well, taking in fullness, always to understand what that thing was. There was some sense of communion, some sense of family, but the problem was just this. She sensed something like herself. Something was mysterious. This thing on the other side of the scale is just like me. She tried to smile, and when she started emulating something, the same thing with this thing called no hope, said the same thing back. It emulated everything she did. Every gestures, everything she did it back as well. Like a twin, in a sense. She smiled and giggled and went to hug the thing, and it hugged her back. There was something mysterious on this side of the scale. And slowly but sure, she was true. The Magi went right down that way to embrace their queen, their priestess, the oracle. Delphi had come in, and Delphi to set the scales, but the problem was a giggle. Mutely, the small entourage went around their queen. Circling her, they celebrated her. They tried to understand what she was doing. The calculations, had she found it? Had she found what she was looking for? What was it she was trying to find? Who was she trying to find? Slowly, they retreated. What was going in reverse suddenly started to go back to reverse again, forward again. Time seemed to go forward again. There was always a mystery. How can you make time go backwards? And when you make time go backwards, it was in the past. It was in the future, and it was in the present. Anarchy came into the fore, and when it did, Delphi had walked in and set the rules. The house dealt a cruel hand to time, in a sense. It didn't make sense. How could time exist and yet not exist? Could something have been there before? And then if it was before, how did it get there in the first place? That made no sense. Quantum had somehow entered the room. It was anarchy. Nothing made any sense with anarchy. And then, like always, just like that, the four was back again. What of you? You put me as a tree? Is that it? You put me this way. Hope, like always now, was, well, back to being Hope again. The mother at the two, but she'd been brought back by Hope as a tree. You dare? You dare put me like this? That's the most. And then the digger. Oh, yes, the digger. Hope had made him, well, like always, on occasions. You see me like this. Is that it? You see me as what? Something I cannot be. You wish me to be a tree of life. Is that it? You wish me to be like this. Always a game of four was just that. Something that made no sense. Something that always seemed to change things. When you understood it, the problem was always the same. Someone was playing a cruel game of four. It made no sense. Time on a dime. It spun like a top, and yet, like always, the problem was the same. The mother would look upon her own child. You see me as a tree? As a dead thing? Is that it? Like this? I am death. I am called Raft. But I'm also a champion of life. You should know that. And yet on the other side, the tree of life, oh yes, would look upon his own daughter and say the same. You see me as life? Is that it, my precious queen? Hope. I am no king. What I am is only the ground. Tierra. I am the ground. What I am is your king. And he would say it to her face. I am your Raven King. My crown is a crown of hope. And you must know the crown that I wear on my head falls off. Because I am no head of state. What I am is a man. A man who worships the ground. All the things on the ground, you should know that. All the things on the ground is what I worship. The dirt you walk on. All the things that you see that covet my kingdom is just that. All it is flowers of stone, is what he said.